ghostly mark. Cobwebs twine and shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks. Marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silence sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers and crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to presume that Stream is doing the things that it should do and everything is behaving and we're not deafening anybody. Hi, chat. How are you? How are you? I hope chat is doing well. Night Owl says, despite everything, I am here and technically awake, which is one hell of a mood. Behaving for the moment. Excellent. Excellent. Stream appears to be streaming. Wonderful. Lictor should be joining us in the very near future. Will we be able to hear him when we get here? Nobody knows, but we'll fix that when the moment comes. Crabs, hi. Yes. Yes. Unexpectedly, Parallax has the next week off. Well, I hope you're going to enjoy it and do some rest and etc. I know you've had a rough week or so. Hello, Anka. Have you come to say hi to chat? You want to tell chat hi? Or are you just going to look at me plaintively with the cute eyes and then jump in my lap and stand on the keyboard? Is that what we're doing? Anka says hi. Hey, baby girl. Hello, Lictor. Let's see. Is OBS registering that you exist? No, it is not, but I can fix that. I can fix that. So we will do that thing. There. Okay. That should fix it.
I see Orc Slayers have been excited.
Yes, Orc Slayers looks very excited with many things. Oh, there's even a little sage in there.
OBS might not be, yes.
OBS throws its toys out of the pram every week.
That is true. I have my tricorn hat.
Yes, your little tricorn on your bowler hat, on your top hat. Very important. A hat for your hat for your hat.
Indeed.
OBS is an eldritch being with an agenda of its own, and I'm just glad that the only thing it likes to do is just annoy me a little bit every week with audio. And then we're fine. And then we're fine.
Yes. Very good.
Plus,
Yes,
you know, I have chat who will tell me when things are wrong, and then occasionally I play an advert and just blast everybody's ears out. Speaking of which, I have an advert. I want to play it at some point. It's a good advert, but it might blow people's ears out.
So you better do it now while they can't run away.
It's not Storma Musume. I have played the Uma Musume advert on here. It's not a cursed advert this time. It's the one that I have been alluding to over the last week or so that Aiden also worked on, and I imagine most of you have probably actually already seen it. But I will do the thing. I will do the thing. Let me find some buttons. Buttons.
Yes.
NANI?! Annual Metafied and Corn Dog Extravaganza!
Okay, we'll bring us back in. I'm glad you liked the Marauder Lictor.
I like both of them, but the Marauder is down the bling on it. Oh,
It's Exemplus's Marauder, so, you know, it has to be all white and gold and shiny, and praise Blake into oblivion. So, yeah, Exemplus approached me earlier in the year and was like, you know, we have the 3rd annual Mech Fight and Corn Dog Extravaganza coming up. Can you make a poster? And can we, you know, maybe do some animation on it? Because we did last year. We had the Wrecking Ball and the Chainsaw on last year's, and Exemplus had the idea to sort of borrow from Pokemon for this one. And once I told Aiden what I was doing, he got this look in his eye and he was like, can I do the editing? I was like, yeah, sure, you can do the editing. And then I went and pestered Stormsong and was like, could you make us some custom music? He was like, hell yeah, I can make some custom music. And thus we now have this advert. The wonderful thing, one thing that I really enjoyed when that came out, because this has only just been announced in the Orcs like half an hour ago or so. So some of you will have already seen it there. Some of you have seen it here. Sign-ups are now open. You can see the full announcement in the Orcs with, you know, what year, what battle value, etc., etc. Everything's over there. I immediately got a message from somebody like, the Kana on the JoJo references is wrong. And I was like, cool, I don't care, because I wasn't responsible for those assets. But I'm absolutely going to give the team hell about it.
beautiful.
Yes. I was not responsible for the JoJo assets. There's, I'm guessing they were probably AI generated, which if they were generated very cleverly from somebody giving it good inputs, but I can't tell you specifically where those bits came from. The little sprites, the little Mech Warrior Exemplus, and the little digs, Aiden made those in A Sprite or whatever it's called, the little pixel program, and animated those. So I'm very proud of him. He's been doing an art this week.
This week?
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, he started the editing last week because this is one of those things. This project has what I lovingly refer to as BPL syndrome, which is we started with a simple thing, and then the following year we made it slightly more complex, and then the following year we made it more complex, and God only knows what next year is going to look like. The project creep on this was real but fun.
Develop an entire Pokemon-esque Mech Warrior game with pilots, with trainers based on BPL members, piloting custom mechs that learn attacks.
And then we get sued into oblivion by Nintendo. So probably not, but we certainly had a lot of fun with what we made for this year. And I'm glad you guys seem to like it. It came out classy, and Diggs made the sponsor thing at the beginning. He just sort of landed in the studio and was like, right, who's got icons and logos and sponsors? And then I sat down once he'd put it all together and counted it. And I think there was 13 of those sponsors feature my art. 2 of them I know I gave their creators advice on, which is just under half of all of the sponsors. And oh dear. I don't.
Yep.
Graphic design isn't even my thing, I swear.
Uh-huh. Right. Yes. Yes, Lud. We believe you, right, Chet? We believe Lady Red when she says that design and arts are not her thing. Yes. Of course.
Will
Right.
says next year you have to build actual real mechs to fight. I think we're a few years off from that now, though. I was joking and saying that next year we'll have to like fully wire and rig 3D models or something.
Hey, I've got friends in the Iron Beam crew.
Well, we also know
I can-
Parallax
I
is
can-
modeling.
I can arrange for actual real life small lasers and anti-missile lasers.
Okay, so when we do scale up to building actual mechs, we know where to start. Got you.
Yeah. I mean, now it's public. I can talk about it.
No, yeah, we had some fun with that. The irony is that the original posters that I did haven't actually been included in the announcement because the video stuff ended up just creeping and being so much better. So I'm going to force you guys to see the actual posters I did because I'm pleased with them.
Force, yes, force. That's the word you need to use here. We
Yes.
are resisting so hard.
Here we
Please.
go. Let me change this image source and show you guys things. Where will I have hidden that? No, I don't want to go into my 40k folder. Should be in here. No, it isn't. It's in a different folder. Yeah, it should be in here.
Hey there, Gigi Man. The anti-digs. Hello.
Okay, here we go. Open this and then actually move it into the right location. Boop. This was the original poster.
Oh, hey, there's corn dogs.
Yeah, that is the logo, which appeared last year and has been reused this year, and I'm sure Crow will hunt me down at some point for daring to put ketchup on corn dogs and not mustard, but you know.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's in Baba J's Mechoplex, so you know.
Yes.
I need to revise my my no mustard all ketchup whatchamacallit, hot dog delivery urban mech system. I think I've shown it at some point. It's one of my very first mech drawings, and I need an. All right, I put a Gauss rifle on an urban mech who's also a hot dog stand for Baba J's Mechoplex.
Seems perfectly rational to me.
I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's Baba J's Mechoplex. How else are you going to deliver hot dogs with precision over distance, perfectly cooked? If not through the munitions of a Gauss rifle.
No, this seems perfectly reasonable. Absolutely
The small laser does indeed shoot ketchup, and the other small laser doesn't work because it's mustard, and Baba J's Mechoplex traditionally and canonically does not have mustard. You should ask Dux about that. He has the entire thing. Okay, so
Does not surprise me. Yes, other things, other than stuff that I've been doing in the last week and cool new communal things we will be doing over in the Orcs. As those of you who were here last week will remember, we had Mike from Mage Hand Press come on to talk to us. We talked about Blood on the Lens and his creative process. It was a wonderful time all around, and I'm really, really glad that he was able to make some time for us. But it meant that we didn't read what I'd written for Chapter 5 of our Shoal novel last week, so we have that. It is March, my dudes, and I thought it would be a really stupid, fun thing to do, to read the rewrite that we are going to do. I am going to do, of Hungry Like the Wolf on the first stream of April. My first stream of April, which I think will be April the 2nd or April the 3rd. It's one of the two. But to do that, I have to actually rewrite Hungry Like the Wolf. And to do that, I not only needed to break down what the current story beats are in the existing book as it is, but also break down the style of Chuck Tingle, because you guys voted that we were not going to rewrite this as a good, genuine, wholesome romance book. We were going to rewrite it as a good, genuine Tingle romance book. We are going to do this in the style of Chuck Tingle. And that means I needed to understand what makes Chuck Tingle's works work. So that is also something I have done this week, and this is my stream and you can't stop me from talking about it. So that's also on the cards today.
I have to all of you, I have to say, I have watched the degeneration. I have watched the damage as it happened over the last week and a half. It has been dragging through hot coals doesn't even begin to describe it. And all the while, Red has been fighting demons and thoughts about other things that plague their mind. So please, props. Props. Getting through 18 chapters of this
22.
book.
22. It's 22 chapters.
Oh, right. 22, yes. And many schwangas.
Yes,
schwangas and
the catchphrase of this rewrite will in fact be Schwangus time.
Yes. Please, concern. It has been a little bit. Yes, they are concerned, and they are concerned for a reason.
There should be all of the concern. So yeah, Lictor's in the writing server, and thus gets subjected to my nonsense quite regularly. And what I did was I broke down Chuck Tingle's style, which was, oh look, actual literary analysis and clever things, and I'm using my brain. And then I started breaking down the structure of the book, and then everybody's brains fled. And then I summed it up into an even shorter version in the style of Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Kai. So, it's been a time. It's been a time.
It's been... Look, we are worried for you. Okay, we're worried.
There's no need. I have read this book twice. I read it once because Doctor Who gave it to me and I needed to read it to be able to yell about it. And then I read it a second time because if I had to suffer through this, my book club was going to suffer through this. And I read it aloud to them. And now I've suffered through it a third time, summarising the bloody thing. Yes. Yeah, any sanity has long since left. I mean, it fled the first time I read it, and Iden was watching me die in real time at 30,000 feet, flying to location redacted. Coming here to laugh at me is perfectly acceptable in this case. Introspective. Carry on. Oh no, Parallax has ordered more paint.
Can I make one comment on something completely unrelated just because it floated up my brain?
Sure.
The art you made of Sidewinder?
Yes.
Had out of all things in the universe, reminded my wife of the Night Witches art from Soviet propaganda.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar, so it was unintentional.
Yes, but it was funny. She's looking at it and like, ah yes, Night Witches. I'm like, well, badass that shoots people from afar. Yeah, that checks.
Would you like to see some art I worked on just for me this week, chat, before we delve into the horror? Is it legal to take Hungry Like the Wolf on an aeroplane? I mean, they let me on there. My bags were, I went through all the normal inspections and nobody stopped me. Nobody stopped me.
I mean, just goes to show you how well they train their airport security.
I did not see that. What's up? If you want to DM to me, I will certainly take a look. I will certainly take a look. Especially as we can kind of blame Big Red for some of what's going on right now. With Hungry Like the Wolf.
Wow. We are blaming. There is so much blame. Will should stay at home. because there's too much blame to go around.
All right. Well, if I bring back up the poster then, and I will go and find. Now, this is only in line art, and is something that I've been sort of doing on the side. And I wanted to sort of start trying to learn things this year. I'm probably not going to have time because loads of new projects have landed on my desk, and never mind. But what I discovered while doing the piece you're about to see is that there is a different way I can do line art, and it takes twice as long for half the results, and I hate it and won't be doing it again, which was an important lesson.
Sounds about right.
I will need to make this a better size because that is way too big. But you know, this does feed into sort of storytelling and creativity because this is my rogue trader character who I am currently playing in Saturday Games with Lictor as the GM, and she is sort of a sneaky penumbra kind of character, and we just stole an Eldar from the pit fight referenced here because she was like, you know, he's lost an arm, but I kind of want to train her on board, and this could make for some interesting narrative levers. Lictor has dropped some interesting plot hooks to follow and curiosities. So yes, this is.
I just need to point to Parallax. How do you manage to be sneaky with Squeak? That's very easy. You sneak behind a truck.
Squick is the distraction. Nobody notices me when Squick's doing things. It's fine.
Yes.
Which,
Yes.
incidentally, is exactly the same way that my last 40k character, Pris, who was an actual assassin, that was how she worked. We would send the party scum into bars to get loud and belligerent while I snuck around doing sneaky things and blew stuff up with explosives that the tech priest made in the bathtub. It was great.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't work? Of course. And remember, if you're planning a stealthy heist, drive in through the front door with a truck. It always gets them surprised.
Yes. Yes, this is perfectly reasonable. You don't see Squick. How to stealth with the Squick. No, you just use Squick as the distraction and everything's fine.
Yep, that's true. With that, until tomorrow, let's yes, the normal amount of Squick.
I will be very
Also,
keen next week to feedback on what happens with the Eldar we stole once we find out what happens tomorrow. The captain's going to just have a conniption fit, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. You'll get to see how he behaves when he pulls out the red diamonds for his mustache. You've seen him with the pink diamonds.
But look at the cool video. You know what I mean? Just
Yes.
stick a shock collar on him and stick him in the training room, and I will learn to do more sneaky shit. And it's fine. It's fine.
Of course.
Just think of him as a big stabby dog. It's fine.
Brommelstein, that's exactly what he plays. He plays a tech priest. Yes, and he did indeed flood the local newsphere with dog meme emails to,
Which did
to
shut down the
everyone.
grid masterfully for a good while. It was very good.
Yeah, it worked amazing. That Squeak isn't already well. The level of insane went to the point where we had to staple in his eyes.
We did have to staple one of his eyes shut, yes, because he thought it would be a great idea to assist the Psycho with warp nonsense, and predictable results happened. But no, Lictor does a wonderful job of dropping interesting things related to what you generated with your character at the beginning for you to follow if you so choose. And that's very much what Sidewinder has going on at the minute, and I'm very excited. So, right, we'll make her go away and do other things. There we go.
No, it's not. No, I just have to say to add, it's not Toaster Mommy, it's Duplicator Mom. It's
Yes.
Duplicator Mom.
Yes, it's Photocopier Mummy.
Photocopier Mommy. No,
Yes.
we have that. But alas, later, we have shenanigans to do.
We do.
And we have Hungry Like the Wolf to do. But that's later.
We do. Okie dokie. So, what do you want to do, chat? Do you want to go over Chapter 5 of Shoal first, or do you want to start digging into the literary analysis of Chuck Tingle first? Where would you like to start this week? I will let chat decide.
Yes, chat. say words. Dictate your fate.
I'm also going to pet the Ceres because she is sleeping on my hip and being very adorable.
Bet.
Many pets. I mean, she has very
Doctor
soft
Who
snores.
Doctor Who
Who says
demands
Shoal?
such story time.
Yeah, we can
If
do that.
nobody else steps up. Okay,
Or Wilf has redeemed a
demands
pet. Ceres, this is from Wilf. And also from Lictor.
Yes.
Gothrop says chapter
Also from
5.
Andrew.
Ed says pets.
And Night Owl as well. It seems like we're sinking into the deep brine again.
We will start then with chapter 5 of Shoal. So last time we were looking at the book, the beginning of last week, we looked at the closing section of chapter 4, and we made some notes that we were going to have a bit of a revision at some point on exactly how our hab and our suit is working and the exact depths that we're working with, and we're going to come back to that, I think, in the editing phase at this point, because that gives the people who are doing all of the very clever science head research things, aka not me, because when it comes to physics and math, my brain dribbles out my ears and goes on vacation. It will give them some time to look into things, and then we can come to a unified sort of thing on that, and that's fine. We can deal with that in the editing phase. But we did have a moment where Jake and Hordaka, the pilot of the young Titan, Felonic, were having a chat together. They'd sort of had a little swim around the plaza where they've decided that they'll set up their base camp, and then Jake went to bed. So we'll be picking up with chapter 5, him waking up after that. The suit descriptions and measurements, etc., are still based on what we were originally working with. These are very subject to change, but it will sit in here as placeholder information for flow, and that will be fine. So I'm completely aware that this does not match the additional detail that Ed has very kindly supplied since we were last here. It will come in time. Okay. I think there is some thoughts of a unified understanding, but what the actual numbers are going to look like and etc. Doctor Who, I'm not sure yet. I don't think that's been fully written out, and that's fine. It's completely fine. We will come to it when the time is right. So let me read to you guys. That is the wrong thing. I want this one. Helps if I'm on the right thing. Okay, chapter 5. Morning came with a sticky mouth, the remnant of strange and unsettling dreams and his usual desperate need for coffee. It also came with excitement to get back into the water and actually venture into Chorax proper. Jake stretched until his joints creaked, tossed his mug into the cycler to clean, and ducked into the moon pool to find his impulse layer. Cool gel nodes kissed his spine and limbs as the skin suit sealed, fresh and clean compared to how he'd left it feeling the night before. His senses narrowed, then sharpened as Kilo synced with his implants. The outer suit accepted him with familiar, unnerving grace. The bite of the cradle, the momentary nothing, then the rush of inputs as the exo came online. Depth, 575 metres. Suit limit, 600 metres. Safety band, 25 metres. Caution. The amber edge on his HUD blinked once, meaningfully. Got it, he told nobody in particular. The moonpool hatch irised open. Water spilled silver against the suit's external feeds. Jake stepped off the cradle platform and slid down into the dark. Outside, Chorax waited. The plaza glowed in a small, contained way. Work lights clamped to Echo's tendrils and hab corners, the slow pulse of temp filter nodes at the perimeter. Sorry, temporary filter nodes, I should say, because that's going to imply Temp's coral, otherwise we don't want that. Nick's dim patrol green banding. Beyond that, the dead city loomed in layers of shadow and faint, wild bioluminescence. 4 figures hovered near the edge of the lit zone, shrouds distinct even before his suit tagged them. "Morning, Sleepy Shell," Jabra called, voice coming through in a rough alto. The ceratinoid captain had ditched any decorative plating. Her shell was all blunt angles and anchor points. One heavy claw rested on a hafted tool which might have been a pry bar or a weapon. "Thought we'd have to send the counsellor in to drag you out." Umi floated nearby, long body coiled in an easy arc. His shroud felt like warm current, steady and reassuring. Next to him, Hordaka bounced in place, tail flicking little excited eddies into the water, harness straps neat across his chest. The 4th figure turned as Jake approached. The cephalinid pressure suit wasn't as bulky as the medic's. It was compact and functional, clinging close to a mantle marked in older, more subdued colours. deep indigo and muted slate rather than Talia's flickering neons. Reinforced bracing traced her arms and the curve of her head. External cameras glimmered where eyes would be, and her translator node sat like a brooch on her upper chest. Shroud-wise, she was a steady, layered presence. No flair, no fizz. Something about the texture of it made Jake think of stacked books and well-kept tools. "Jacob Salaval," she said, the translator rendering her clicks in a voice that matched the impression. Older, smooth and unhurried. "You look less likely to fall over than yesterday. Acceptable." "I believe this is the first time you've seen Magarel," Umi said, sliding a little closer. "Or should I say Mags? Normally she's synonymous with Echo, but this morning she graces us with her presence alone." Mag's chromatoflores muted further, a faint ruffling of colour along the mantle equivalent to a scowl. "There is no S," she snapped. "Magarel, you are literate. Use all of the letters." Of course, Umi said, shroud rippling amusement. "Mags." Jake hid his smile behind the neural set of his helmet. "Guardian Echo will remain in camp monitoring filter nodes and quiet readings," Magarel continued, with the air of someone determined to ignore Umi's existence. "Nick will stand first watch with one of Jabra's crew. We will conduct a short survey of the immediate streets for structural integrity and environmental anomalies." She flexed one arm, suit joints whispering. "We stay within visual of the plaza. No heroics." "Understood," Jake said. "Kilo?" "Monitoring," Kilo said. "I will log all readings and flag anything out of pattern. Do not touch anything that hums wrong at you." "Define wrong," Jake muttered, but they were already moving. They slipped out of the plaza together, a small knot of life pushing into a space that had been empty of sapient motion for generations. The main avenue off the plaza sloped gently downwards and away, wide enough that Echo could probably have walked it. Even with sediment drift and reef growth softening the edges, the scale was obvious. Doorways gaped tall and broad. Side passages yawned like mouths. "Chorax knew its people got big," Jabra said, half to herself. Her claws clicked once against ancient stone as she tested a seam. "Good streets. Could swing a whole pod of Archaea through here and not clip a fin." "That is deliberate," Magarel said. She skimmed her fingertips along a wall as they passed, touch light. "Chorax was founded primarily by abyssal cephalonids, with early support from Archaea guilds. They wanted space. Abyssals are substantial, regardless of species." Jake dropped his gaze automatically to her. It was strange the way his brain could tell she was older, even with every feature filtered through 2 layers of alien anatomy and a suit. The muted colour shifts, the slow, measured reach of her shroud, the way she occupied water without needing to announce herself. "Is that why you and Talia use suits?" Jake asked. "You're not abyssal?" "We're mid-tier," Magarel said. "Our bodies like it shallower. The founders built Chorax at the top end of abyssal comfort and at the deep end of Archaea preference. It's efficient for trade, less efficient for people like me." She flexed her mantle slightly, suit responding with a faint creak of reinforced ribs. "This depth is rude to my joints, so I wear assistance." "I'm fine," came Talia's faint voice over the link from camp. "Thank you for your concern." "Too fine," Magarel said dryly. "Your chromatophores think this is a holiday." Hodaka chuckled. They drifted past a row of recessed alcoves on the right. Low, rounded spaces, half clogged with silt, their fronts once marked by signs now entirely claimed by algae and soft sponge. Jake's suit beam played over them, cutting through the haze. "Food quarter," Magarel said. "Outer ring. See the venting? Those slits at the top of the arches. Heat and gas has to go somewhere." "Let's see what's left," Jabra said. She led the way into the first alcove, claws finding purchase on old stone. Jake followed more carefully, his suit's weight pressing faintly into the floor, silt pluming around his boots. The interior was a shallow cave carved into the reef. The ceiling curved low compared to the avenue, nodules and hooks protruding where things had once hung. Now, twisted stalks of opportunistic filter flora had claimed the space, their fronds lifting and falling in slow motion with each movement of water. Near the back, mounted in a tumble, lay a cluster of pale shapes. Jake swung his beam onto them. At first, he thought they were natural barnacles. Big ones, each the size of his head, clustered tight. Then he saw the regularity in the pattern. Bands scored around their middles, deliberate, even lips where something had sealed over the tops. "What am I looking at?" he asked quietly. In your tongue? Wine, Magarel said. Once. She reached out with one gloved tentacle and brushed sediment from one shell. It flaked away reluctantly, revealing faint glyphs etched into the barnacle's side. Maker marks and veritable sigils. Domesticated barnacles, she explained, grown for controlled shell thickness, filled with fermented kelp or fruit mash and then sealed. Tap on the side to sing the quality before you buy. Pop the top, drink, return the shell for reuse. Jabra made an appreciative noise. Portable, break-resistant, and tastes better than what we had in my last ship, I wager. Jake could imagine it. A busy stall, cephalonid and archaea and laticle all clustered around, tapping barnacles, bargaining, the smell of fermentation thick in the water. Now the barnacles were empty. Where holes had been punched to pour, tiny reef creatures nested. Anything worth salvaging? Jabber asked, more out of habit than hope. Liquid, no, Magarel said. Shells, maybe for a museum. Not really our concern. We can take one or two and otherwise just document the recording system in use. It took no more than 15 minutes. Jake snagged one of the barnacles for himself. Then they backed out and moved to the next alcove. Here, the floor was littered with huge clamshells. Most lay open, halves splayed like fallen wings. Thick black scorch marks rimmed the interiors. Residue clung in scraped patches. Cook shop, Umi murmured. Shell grills. Clams cooked in their own houses. Takeaway for people who did not want to bother steaming at home. Sufficient, Jake said. He focused his beam on one enormous shell, picturing hands, claws, tentacles, thick fingers, lifting it hot from some buried heat source, sealing it and handing it over to a waiting customer. Use the shells as pot, plate and packaging. Also status, Magarel said. Biggest clams meant your family could pay for prime cuts. Hodaka drifted closer to one, running his palm along the scorch marks. Still smells like dinner, he said softly. It didn't, not to Jake. To him, it smelled like water and stone and his suit's air mix. But he felt the echo in Hodaka's shroud. Memory of some similar stall elsewhere, some similar char. They explored two more stalls. One that had probably dealt in dried algae slabs, and another with racks that might once have held skewers of something now long gone. Then Umi steered them onwards. Food is for later, he said. We should see how their children lived. A creche lay a little off the main avenue, tucked into the base of a low rise. Its entrance was wide and low, a rounded doorframe whose edges still clung to the faintest trace of paint. Inside it felt wrong, somehow, for there was no noise. The chamber opened into a roughly spherical space, floor gently cupped, ceiling arcing overhead. Every surface was studded with grips and spokes, dense inward spikes rounded at the tips, in regular patterns that ran from floor to ceilings to walls. Inside-out porcupine, Jake murmured. Hodaka's shroud warmed with soft amusement. Creche, he confirmed. Lots of holes, so little arms and fins can grip from any angle. The water would be full of bodies in here. Jake's lights caught on objects scattered amid a drift of fine silt at the bottom. Toys. They'd survived better than he expected. There were resin figures, small, stylized cephalonids with stubby tentacles and shark-bodied archaea with grinning mouths and exaggerated fins. One fat little Susella, all smooth body and stubby flippers, its wide eyes still picked out in pale paint. Where there were any kind of Salatian, archaea or Phison, there were their symbiote Susella. In its heyday, the creche would have rippled with song. Half buried in the silt, Jake found a tiny ring of coral towers with smiling faces etched in childish lines. He reached down automatically, fingers closing around the Susella toy. The resin felt slick under his glove, faintly pitted by age. Something prickled at the edge of his awareness. Not the toy, it was dead plastic, but the others. Umi's shroud had gone quiet. Not retracted, exactly, but folded in, contemplative. Hodaka's shimmered with a mix of curiosity and sadness. Magarel's went very still. The colour along her mantle had drained to a subdued near black. What is it? Jake said, looking up. Mags was watching the toys, not him. This creche was not for mid-tier children, she said softly. Look at the handholds, spacing, depth. Jake looked. The spikes were longer than he'd expected, further apart than his own hands would like. The chamber itself was larger than the one in Song Gorge he'd visited as part of Umi's education about locals. Enough room for bigger bodies. And these, Magarel added, gesturing with one-suited hand towards the resin cephalinids. Jake frowned, focusing on the little figures. Broad heads, yes, tentacles. But their proportions were subtly different to Talia and Magarel. Longer mantles, thicker base, the way the head ridge flared back. I don't see it, he admitted. You're not expected to, Magarel said, not unkindly. Abyssal cephalinids have heavier bodies. Their mantles are longer to store more muscle and protective tissue. Their limbs thicker for deeper pressure. They like darker colours. The children's toys reflect that. These little ones were deeper folk. Once this city was full of children for the future. There is no city today with even a fraction of the abyssal folk living in its bounds. Her shroud swelled and then settled, carrying an old ache. As I said earlier, abyssals built Chorax with the Archir, she continued. It was the top of their comfortable band. For me and for Talia, it is pushing too deep. For them, it was home. Jake turned the toy Susella gently in his grasp, imagining it clutched in small tentacles that would never grow to their full, substantial adult size. The handholds overhead crowded suddenly with phantom bodies in his mind. Excited, tumbling, chirping, small shrouds bright with play. Now there was only the thin, scarred background and the soft whisper of water. What would a day here have looked like? He asked quietly. Parents dropping them off, Umi said, voice softer than usual. Creche staff singing the day shift song. Lessons, games. Little ones clambering from spike to spike, learning balance in 3 dimensions. Nap time in the upper nets. They would listen to the Temps libraries for stories about far reefs. Play at being Archir or Latical or Podlan. Climb the ceiling and pretend it was the floor. Jabra clicked her claws together once, a sharp, unhappy sound. And then one day, the quiet hit, she said, and all that song turned to noise. Magarel's chromatophores flickered, a tiny, contained shiver. We are not here to drown in ghosts, she said firmly. We catalogue, we learn, and we remember. That is all we can do. Jake set the toy back where he'd found it, very carefully. Near the wall, a carved plaque caught his beam. It showed a stylized dome, smooth, arched, with radiating lines that might represent layered stands or circulation channels. Tiny figures ringed it, many armed and finned. Sports arena, Hordaka said, following his gaze. His shroud brightened with a different flavour of memory. Stadium noise and playful rivalry. You see there? The tower here marks an outer ring district. Chorax had a famous game dome just outside the city rim. I saw a holonode about it once. Abyssal League, Archir teams, very fast games. Jake took note. You think it's still standing? Could be, Hordaka said. If the quiet didn't chew the supports, maybe we'll see it later. Later, Magarel said firmly. For now, we move on. We have ground to cover and monitors to place. They left the creche behind. The next block over opened into a cluster of low, long spaces. The walls bore scars where fixtures had once been bolted. The floors were scored with parallel grooves worn by generations of traffic, the stone hard yet scoured, robust yet dirt-ingrained. Workshop district, Jabber identified immediately, professional interest sharpening her shroud. I know that layout anywhere. Clans had their stalls here. Tools in, repairs out. Jake's suit flagged traces of old lubricant in the stone. Not the synthetic oils of modern Titan bays, but the more organic gels used before heavy metals were widespread. They ducked into the nearest workshop. It was strange seeing a place meant for making things without any of the elements Jake instinctively expected. No suspenser rails, no overhead gantries, no power sockets for large-scale frames. Instead, the space was full of fossilised ingenuity. Benches grown directly from the reef, their surfaces worn smooth by hands and tools. Racks for bone and coral spars, many now empty, some still holding snapped lengths half buried in algae. A wall of simple mechanical loggers. Rows of little stone and ceramic devices whose gears had long since frozen, each one wedded to a single job. Counting strokes, measuring pressure, recording timing as a physical pattern. Chorax predates Titans by many grand years, Magarel reminded them, her tone slipping into lecture almost reflexively. The forge cities had yet to industrialise metal or massive infrastructure. The largest constructs most cities had back then were probably cargo shells and Archaea carrier sleds. See here. She indicated a wide groove worn into the floor, curving through the room. Harness track. Draw sleds dragged through to offload materials into the benches. No anchor points for legs that weigh as much as Nick. Hodaka ran his hand along a braided length of what might have once been coral flex cable, now stiff and lifeless. It is small, he said, not derisively. Feels strange to be built in a place built only for bodies like ours. Most of Shoal is built for bodies like ours, Umi said mildly. Titans are the exception, not the rule. Do not let your partnership make you forget your scale, Hodaka. Hodaka's shroud crinkled with good humour. I'll try. Jake, who had grown up in a culture where the biggest machines were still fundamentally external things humans climbed into, not beings anyone claimed to be friends with, felt the note lingering between them. He stopped to examine one of the mechanical loggers more closely. It resembled a fat spool etched with endless looping grooves. A tiny arm with a stylus hung frozen above it. Kilo, he said. Any chance these still hold data? Unlikely, Kilo said. Mechanical loggers can persist, but without maintenance their track fills with silt and microflora. We would need to extract them and run them in isolation. That is work for later, with proper containment. Heard that, Magarel said. Flag them, Jacob. They go on the maybe salvage lift, if quiet checks come back clean. Jake pinged markers into the shared map, little icons blinking where the loggers sat. They checked 2 more workshops. One bore clear traces of fabrication. Moulds grown into the walls, shapes for what looked like shell plates and coral struts. The other had racks for tools clearly meant to tune the song. Tuning forks, resonance stones, the skeletons of devices that had once helped coral grow in precise ways. Pre-Forge Warcraft, Magarel murmured. Before automated tools and assembly lines. Lots of handwork, lots of ritual. Hodaka looked faintly wistful for his modern mechanics. Jabra looked faintly impressed by how much could be accomplished without a single obvious high-pressure pipe. Farm cave next, Umi said, then back. We will not exhaust the whole city in just one day. The farm cave lay off a side street down a short ramp. The entrance was a simple oval, unadorned save for faint glyphs marking nutrient flow and harvest schedules. Inside, the current felt different. Jake's suit sensors flagged a change in particulate composition and nutrient density before Jake's own senses caught up. The water here was thicker, richer. The space widened into a series of terraced shelves carved into the rock, each shelf supporting overgrown curtains of filamentous growth. Don't you love it when I use big words that I can't pronounce properly? Algae, filter mats, slow waving forests, all of it overgrown. Rows of slender stalk plants, their fronds now so long they drooped under their own weight, had once been neatly cropped. Now they filled the chamber in drifting tangles, a soft green-black cloud. Here and there, bulbous gourds hung from them, hollow growths once used as nutrient reservoirs and collection pods. Farming cave, Magarel confirmed, for bulk feed, algae for processing, filter fruit for local consumption. See the old channel cuts in the walls? Nutrient inflow. It's all shut now. Jake sent his beam along one terrace. Fish flickered and vanished into the mats, spooked by the light. Something with too many legs rippled across the ceiling and tucked itself into a crack. Is it safe? He asked. Kilo's analysis ticked through his HUD. Microbial load, potential toxins, residual signatures. Nothing unusual, she said after a moment. Biology normal for an abandoned agricultural space. No quiet residue. Do not eat anything without running it through 3 filters and Magarel first. Wise, Magarel said. Talia reached out and gently, that doesn't work, Talia's not supposed to be here. I will need to change this. Let me put a note here. I might have meant this to be Jabra. Okay, there we go. Reached out and gently lifted one frond, inspecting the anchor node where it met the stone. Methods are old, she said. Pre-standardization. You can see the hand of individual tenders. They shape these growths themselves. You can tell that from that? Jake asked. From that, from the pattern of shells, from the way the fronds braid, Talia said. No two tenders grow exactly alike. We leave fingerprints. Her shroud warmed, equal parts nostalgia and professional critique. Some of this is outdated, but there are good tricks here. We should log it. It looks like hair, Hordaka said, peering through a veil of algae. Very long hair, of someone who refused to cut it for 100 years. That should probably also be a Jake comment, because hair is something that humans have, not Shoaly. They pushed gently through one terrace, careful not to tangle equipment. The deeper corners of the chamber had already begun to collapse, the ceiling sagging under its own weight where support nodes had failed. A few old farmer tools lay half buried. Long-handled shears, scoops, a broken resonance fork. Nothing here we need immediately, Magarel concluded, but good to know how the food infrastructure for this sector was handled. On their way out, Jake paused at the entrance and looked back. In the glow of his suit lights, the farm cave looked almost peaceful. A green, slow breath in a city of stone and scars. Life had moved in and carried on, indifferent to whether anyone came to harvest it. Log this for my study, please, he said. Logged, Kilo replied. They regrouped at the main avenue. The plaza lay visible ahead, Echo's bulk a reassuring silhouette, Nick a squat protective shape at one edge. They'd only gone a few blocks. Already, Jake's mind felt full of abandoned stalls and resin toys and clever pre-Titan pulleys, of abyssal children, deep-bodied and laughing, clambering over spikes that now only held silt. Initial survey complete, Magarel said over the shared channel as they made their way back. Structures within immediate radius stable, no quiet residue detected. Manuals, loggers and artefacts marked for potential salvage, farm cave noted. The city still has much to teach us. And we've only walked its outer rooms, Umi added gently. The inner library, the towers, all that's for later. Jake glanced once more toward where the line of towers would rise beyond their little bubble of light. He exhaled, letting his shroud stay small and close as they slipped back into the plaza's relative brightness. There would be time enough to press against all those limits. Depths, knowledge, history. For now, they'd taken a first, careful walk through the ghost of a city's daily life. And tomorrow, and the day after, Chorax would still be here, waiting. And that was as far as I got into chapter 5 so far. Let's come and see what chat is saying, because that was a big old read.
It's a very good read. I enjoyed it.
Oh, good. I'm very pleased.
I have things to say, but I'll let chat have their dues first.
Oh no! Dux is ill and tired.
Oh, well.
I mean, the
they'll
ship
have to
posting
get better.
can wait. Please rest, Dux. Quack. Please rest and hydrate.
Yes,
So we're
I
gonna have to
mean,
do both suits in the story. Yeah, that will be an option. Certainly, at some point, we'll have to have a sit down, Ed, and discuss the suit and the hab based on all the research you've done, and come up with a final design. Would it be wise to remove artifacts from a dig site? Even the placement of artifacts can speak volumes, so I've heard. I feel like with the kind of archaeology that happens on Shoal, to a certain degree, most artifacts are probably not going to be in their original position anymore because of currents and water flow and etc. and animals moving through. It's not as static as on-land archaeological sites as they get buried. That said, we did make a note in the beginning that Mags has cameras on her suit, so my assumption is that everything is photographed in place before anything gets picked up.
Yes, I mean, they do. I don't think they have actual cameras, but they do. But you know what? I need to think about it for a second, because cameras. How do cameras develop? Okay, I have a thought about it, but that's for later.
I've given you a
They
problem
do
to
have
solve,
to
haven't I?
Visual imaging. It's not that complicated. We do have psyoptics as a basis. That means you can transmit optical imagery, which means by definition you can remember it and and replay it. It just means that she has some sort of symbiont organism close by to allow this memory. Maybe she has some sort
Perhaps
of
she
a-
has one of Echo's drones with her instead. Maybe we adjust it slightly.
Yeah, she has a drone, or she has a Temps coral nodule attached to her suit. And then she transmits into, because you know what? That's a cool way to show that she's a freaking powerful librarian. She can record into Temps while doing other stuff, and other people can look at her and say, You don't see that every day. A librarian doing Temps manipulation on the go, as though she's just, you know, she's giving us a class and also operating a highly sophisticated machine that can brain your brain out, that can burn your brain out.
Okay.
That's the sort of flex I'd expect from someone like Max. Yeah, I can operate a nuclear reactor and give you an archaeological explanation at the same time and make it look easy.
Okay, and then somebody else made a note. Maybe Jake can ask Mags later if it was really okay to move the items they did, as he is familiar with human land archaeology. Mags can then explain the challenges of underwater archaeology and her ability to record, so they have context of at least where they found things. I think that's a good idea. Okay, let's see what else is chat saying. Yeah, I'm sure Jake does get a wedgie every time he puts his impulse suit on.
Absolutely.
I suspect Jake has visited a few underwater archaeological sites in the Sol system as training for Shoal. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a worthy thing to bring up and have a discussion about, but having grown up in the UK, I was blessed to grow up as a young redling with the Time Team series on TV, which was a archaeological focused program where a team would go around and do 3-day digs on sites and basically flag them for whether they needed much more archaeological digging, whether they needed preserving, whether there was nothing there, and they'd sort of talk about the history of the area and also do sort of experimental science of recreating how some of these things would have worked in the past with the technology. It was a really good show, very, very educational, very enjoyable, and also meant that a lot of the UK got looked at, and you know, the general public gained some appreciation of at least some archaeological techniques. And they did do a couple of underwater episodes, and it was a very different ball game to on land. Very, very different.
Agreed.
Okay, so it seems overall you guys found that acceptable and pleasing, which I'm glad about.
I from personal experience, it felt a little bit like I felt when I walked through the Straits of Herculanum in Herculanum and Pompeii.
I'm still so
It felt
jealous
a
you
lot-
have been, because I really want to go. I haven't had the chance, but I'm glad it gives
One
that
day.
feel.
No. I think that if this is what we were aiming at, and you nailed it on the head. The feeling of this was a lived-in space. This was where people, and the people on our team are not grave robbers. They're there to be excited and understand a past, and this is important. I don't know how to express it in a more visceral way. This is an important aspect of the people we're dealing with, because because by giving this sense of sacredness, of this uniqueness of the import of the people who live here, we can later in the story give the desecration of that importance that the underwater supercavitating Valstrax monsters and quiet, this dissonance between sacredness and desecration
Yes, the
is what
difference
gives
between
it
people who
impact.
came here to be respectful and people who came here to be exploitative. Introspective says we need more cowbell. I mean, always we need more cowbell. And I do like the idea of the lost city of Miami and the Great Bass Pro Pyramid.
What? What? Okay, please
Are
illuminate,
you not
give
familiar
context.
with the Great Bass Pro Pyramid?
No.
Okay, so there's a chain of
What?
outdoorsman stores over here called Bass Pro, and they do like all of your hiking supplies, fishing supplies, all of that sort of wonderful outdoor stuff. Yeah, it is in Memphis, you're right. But that's not to say that in the great distant future, Miami doesn't also have one. We can have more than one. Anyway, in the real world, in our current timeline, there was a huge sort of casino pyramid built in Memphis, which for some reason casinos have a thing, or at least some of them have a thing with Egyptian theming. And they built this giant pyramid. I can't remember whether it was supposed to be a casino or not, or a shopping mall or something, but it had been an NBA venue that sat empty. Okay, so they built this huge pyramid that was designed for more entertaining prospects, and it just never ended up fulfilling its original intention, and it was expensive and gaudy and nobody really knew what to do with it. And then Bass Pro turned around and bought it and were like, no, we'll just fill this with outdoorsman stuff. So there's this giant Egyptian style pyramid in the middle of Memphis with a huge Bass Pro sign on the outside that will sell you all of your fishing gear needs.
Confused.
Yes, as is literally everybody else who sees it for the first time. Like, why?
I see. So, what you're saying, essentially, that okay, no, if I start, there will be no end. We will go down the world of darkness. There will be a door to somewhere else, and there will
Oh,
be an
man.
antediluvian buried under
I
that
love
pyramid.
the idea of a Vampire the Masquerade game that involves the Bass Pro Pyramid. Oh, that's going to be loitering in my thoughts for months now.
Well, we know what our next campaign is then.
Oh dear.
Once we finish collecting all the crude from the under storage and giving some work for human Steve.
Yes. Yes, this is why I'm not concerned about the fact I stole an Elder. We've got Crew on board and Steve Human, who is probably not human.
You don't know that.
No, no, Sidewinder doesn't know that. I know that.
That's true. Left some of his experiments under where the pyramid is. Sorry,
dear.
there was only 103 rooms. What? Is that a reference to something else?
We're talking about the pyramid still, I believe. It has a 200-room
Yes.
hotel, which apparently is actually 103 rooms, 2 restaurants, and 2 bowling alleys.
Okay. I mean, sure.
Gothdrop is
103.
saying the pyramid is actually an occult ritual site to call forth the great fisherman Cthulhu. I think what I would do is, okay, I'm going to just dive off for a second into talking at people who know World of Darkness. For anybody who back in the day when Vampire the Masquerade was at its peak read the Book of Gehenna with all of the different options for the end times that you could run if you wanted to, there was a great option in there for Zamichi just being a giant flesh cathedral. I think I might have just decided that he is in fact the Bass Pro Pyramid. That could be
So
fun and
you're-
hilarious and disturbing.
I could have said you're wrong, but you're probably not.
Okay, back on track. Right, so we've now got the rest of chapter 5 to worry about, and I think we've done quite a lot with it already. There's quite a lot of sort of emotional stuff in here with regards to having, them found the creche and the talk about this, the real impact of, yes, this used to be a place where people had their dreams and their futures invested, and then one day it all vanished. And it's just gone. And that's sort of, quite a lot of emotional weight to put on a reader. And I think narratively, it would also make sense to sort of mirror that loss of children with the introduction of a child. We know we wanted to introduce the Archeer child, the girl from the local village. We didn't end up doing stuff with them passing over the village to get here just because of the flow of the story that's happened so far, but I feel like we're now at the point where it's time to make that connection and bring in a child from this area. I think that's the right thing to do, and have that sort of light note of a living child who is curious, and they're curious about them rather than the dead children who don't get to be anymore. How do you feel about that narratively, chat?
I'm just going to step in for me, myself. Please, no violence directly to children in the story.
I don't think that was the intention, although she'll be present when some stuff happens. When we were doing our bullet pointing, when the bad stuff starts happening, she's inside Echo, and she gets rescued and then helps with sort of the solving of the problem. So I don't think when we were bullet pointing, anything bad happens to the Archeer girl. So we should be fine on that front.
That just personal.
I completely get it.
I can be off the chat if need be, but give me a heads up if something like this.
I will do, but I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Thank you. That's it. That's just me. Okay. Regardless, harsh is okay. World is harsh. Yes.
But we don't need to hurt the child to make a point in this. We have plenty to play with without that, so yeah, that will be fine.
We have plenty. There's plenty of hurt and hard feelings to go.
Yes.
Introspective. I will. Please don't. Just.
No, I think it's because I didn't make clear what I was saying when introspective was weighing in, and then it became clear. Now we do have a mummy in the city, but it's not a child. It's an adult.
Yes. Yes. Let's gaily forward, shall we?
Yes. But yeah, I think that's where the rest of chapter 5 should go, is with them discovering the Archeer child, having some conversation with her, and realizing that there is a village nearby, etc., etc. I think that will make a nice round out to chapter 5. And although I would like it to linger in the reader's mind, as you know, that there is some very, very strong sadness to this city that we're exploring, that we're not just going to have a chapter that's just depressing. We still end on that little lilt back upwards.
That would be amazing. Maybe she just, hops off from one street to the other. Remind me, do Archeer also requires a setup, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so I think that the best way to, stop me if you've already done some thought into it, but just having the Susella poke around and one of them blinking at Kilo, and Kilo staring at a Susella and considering what the hell is that, and then, the Archeer shows.
Okay, yeah. Maybe a scene with Kilo and a Susella. Somebody else suggested Jabra finds the child and lifts her out of hiding.
Oh, cool. That's a cool thought. I mean, that's really a cool thought. It's like Kilo and Jake are busy with the Susella while Jabra is sneaking
Meanwhile,
around
Jabra is just like, okay, that rock, and just reaches behind it, child.
Exactly. There's Susella, and they're like, is that alive? It has a shroud. How does this thing has a shroud? Wait, what? Hello? And then Jabra just lifts a struggling Archeer with one giant claw.
And Mag's interested in a local folklore from the child. Chance to have a cooking scene, well, a campfire scene is what I really mean. Campfire scene where they are all sitting around feeding the child and being cute and asking her questions. Cool. Yeah, I think that will make a good end to chapter 5, and I can noodle on that by next week. And yeah, we'll see what you guys think of how I handle that, and then make any changes, just like we have done with all the rest of it, where you guys let me know what's working, what isn't, and we toodle along with bits. You synced the timing of the music you're making with my reading speed? Oh no! Indigenous oral traditions have nuggets of history. Absolutely true. Yes. Yeah, Erica, I think that's where we're going on this, is Jake and Kilo finding a living Susella as they return, and then Jabra just reaching behind a rock and being like, here, child. Okay, I think we're going to be good on that front. That will be fun. I will enjoy writing that. We'll have some more nonsense with all of that next week, and continue writing our book. It is slowly but steadily coming along, and I'm very happy about that. Very, very happy about that. All right, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop up for just a second and use the restroom. And then we are going to move over to talking about literary analysis and some actually intelligent things. And then we'll start talking about really stupid things, and you guys can give me all of your terrible ideas. Because I already have several really terrible ideas people have dropped in the Orcs channel. And yeah, they're wonderful. And Schwangus, I will be right back. Lictor, you're in charge.
Yes.
Good luck, chat.
Dear God. Yes. I mean, some of you will survive the purge until she's back. Hello, everyone. So yeah, Schwangus. Pip Atlas is done. Ready to use my new AFK screen. If you want, but you will cause psychic damage to the audience. I mean, we are dealing with Hungry Like the Wolf now. We are going to cause extreme amounts of psychic damage to everyone. Mostly ourselves, though. I have been damaged extensively already. I can hear it. Yes, measured. Kai, having functional ears. How I envy thee. Jake and Kio's Purge? This? I mean, sure, but do you want me to put your eggplant on fire? I mean, that's how you usually use it. You scorch the outer bounds, you peel off the skin, and only then you start meshing in the insides. I mean, if you want me to.
I return.
Yes. Lord Troll wishes me to put an eggplant on fire, peel off the skin, and mash the insides for yummy eggplant salad.
I have no comments on this. Maybe
Yes,
mix it with some perch. Yes, that'll be fine. Perch is a delicious fish, I'm sure.
Perch is a very delicious fish. Yes, it is. It's a little bit salty. You need to add a little bit of yogurt, though, to the eggplant to counter the sourness.
Mad Duck says he has shared the track he was making in Orcs General, if anybody wants to hear it. I almost feel... I feel kind of strange. I was in the Orcs earlier this week, and for reasons, Lictor and I were reading stuff at each other, and a relatively new Orcslander just happened into the chat and was just read at for like an hour or two. And apparently he enjoyed it. But, yeah, drive-by readings now sometimes happen in the Orcs. Enjoy.
Yes, yes. Dear God. I mean, it was fun.
It was
I
really
enjoyed
fun.
it.
I very much enjoyed listening to what you had to read, and we will need to pick a day that works for you, and I will read you chapter 2 of
Yes,
my personal
you have
stuff.
many chapters. And I will need to make more chapters so I can read it back at you. There it is. There you have it. Okay.
Alrighty.
So quack to you, ducks. Quack to you too.
Now, I'm going to hope that OBS is going to behave itself, and if I close my Shoal project, it should immediately jump us over to my Hungry Like the Wolf project. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's creating records. No, it's... Yes, it did indeed figure it out. It flashed us very quickly to Clip Studio, and then it flashed us over to the right thing. Some days it's almost like I know what I'm doing. Honest. I know OBS behaved. A round of applause for OBS, chat. I'm impressed. Take it easy, ducks, and please get some rest. Okay, so what I want to talk about for the rest of our time together today is basically how I've done the literary analysis I feel I need to do to be able to do what we said we would, which is rewrite Hungry Like the Wolf. For anybody who hasn't been here and doesn't know what's going on, there is a Battletech romance book. It's called Hungry Like the Wolf. It is about a relief worker doctor who crosses paths with Ilkhan Alaric Ward, and they end up having a physical relationship. And the whole joke was, wouldn't it be funny if there was a Battletech romance with a shirtless Alaric Ward on the cover? And unfortunately, that was as far as the joke went. The book is written by a lady who is known, her and her husband, for basically writing professional fan fiction. They mostly dabble in the Star Trek universe. And you can kind of tell that fan fiction is what they write, because the entire skeleton of Hungry Like the Wolf is a very generic romance skeleton with the Battletech skin stretched very imperfectly over the top. And no actual thought and time was put into this. It is not a particularly long book, thank God. The editing and formatting is abysmal. The characters are not compelling or interesting, which is a sin. You can have characters that people aren't supposed to like, but they should still be compelling and interesting in being that kind of negative character. They shouldn't be the way that they are in this book. And the whole joke is just that this exists and it's full of bad romance tropes, which in itself, you can't stretch that joke out for 170 pages and it still be funny. It was funny for like a chapter. Yeah, 160 pages. It's 160 pages of the same joke, which is, isn't it funny this exists, and it's bad tropes. That's it. And here at the Black Pants Legion, we don't take half-assed shitposting. We do whole-ass shitposting.
Indeed.
Which is why this needs rewriting. And you guys decided that it should be done in the style of Chuck Tingle, because I did present to chat at one point the entire first 2 or 3 chapters rewritten as a single chapter of like actually good prose, or at least what I consider good prose in as far as my talent exists. I actually put some effort in. And then I also did you just a couple of sentences, which you can see on screen now, of, you know, if I was going to do it as something more comedic and maybe go down the Chuck Tingle route. And you guys were like, Chuck Tingle! So that's what we're doing. That's where we're at for anybody who isn't up to speed.
Did you just say Chuck Tingle the same way you do Tuz Dingo? Is that what just happened? We just told him, okay, we're not. Chuck Tingle now gives you immunity. Chuck Tingle now gives you immunity from death and increases your damage the closer to death you are.
Fantastic.
Chuck Tingle.
To be fair to the writers of this book, Alaric Wolf / Ward / Steiner Davian is not an interesting or compelling character to begin with. See, that's both true and not true. You are correct, but in the hands of a good writer, you can take liberties in places where it won't be a problem to bring in the interest for a story, especially if it's going to be a character-based story. If you are writing a romance, it is about the characters and their interaction with each other. And because Alaric Ward is the Ilkhan, etc., it's very possible to give him a behind closed doors, more complex personality than he has in the public light, and then just leave it to, you know, the audience to make the determination of, oh, okay, he's different behind closed doors. Or to put in like little tiny tells that you can put in there that make him more amenable so that you actually care about the characters in the story. Obviously, this book didn't do that, and obviously, you know, people have opinions about the writing of Ward in various sources, and I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong. Frankly, I agree in a lot of places, but I also believe that we absolutely have the ability to write a better, more amusing, more potentially occasionally human Alaric Ward. I believe in us. I think we can do this thing. I think it is doable.
We believe in you. We can tame OBS. We can tame that.
Yes, we can. I will probably have to get some input to make sure my things are as lore accurate as they can be, but we're going to have some fun with this, and the reason why we're going to have fun with it, let's move over to talking about a literary analysis of Chuck Tingle and why his stuff works, because that's what's going to make this fun. Breaking this book down breaking this book down was not fun, but breaking down Tingle's style to be able to rewrite this book, that was fun. Now, for anybody who doesn't know Chuck Tingle, he is a very competent writer who writes what could be described as deliberately bad books on purpose, but they're not bad books. There is a world of difference between somebody who writes badly and somebody who is a very competent writer who makes very deliberate choices with their writing to come across in a certain way that could be construed as bad. And Tingle's very much in the second category. To use the literary devices that he uses, you have to understand writing to be able to do it well. And, you know, this will be a bit of a challenge to try and rewrite this book in another author's style. It's because he is a talented writer. He absolutely is. So what I wanted to do was to try and sort of break down the essence of Tingle into several sort of things that I could keep in mind as rules that must be adhered to. And I ended up coming up with 7 total for his works. One of the books that I know my book club, for example, is very aware of is Harriet Porber and the Bad Boy Parasaurolophus, which is an absolutely ridiculous title for a book. The book itself is completely ridiculous. It's technically a parody of Harry Potter, but it is also just, as usual, a send-up of the entire romance genre and just full of absurdity, and we had a really fun time reading it. It was dumb, but it was dumb in the right way. These are the sorts of books that Chuck Tingle makes. A lot of his books also have the word "but" in the title, because if you can be 12 years old and make it compelling, why would you not? Why would you not? So, Trans Wizard Harriet Porber and the Bad Boy. You're right, it is Trans Wizard Harriet Porber and the Bad Boy Parasaurolophus. And there's a reason why I forget that the trans should be at the front, is because Harriet Porber and who they are as a person is just, they're just presented as a person. It's not made to be like this woke disaster piece. It's just, here are some people. They have certain traits about them. They're interesting, and we would like you to care about what happens to them.
How dare you?
Okay, so the first sort of rule that I feel that Tingle's work has is that any concept that he brings into his works are taken literally and made as absurd as possible. And in the actual prose itself, there is no winking at the camera. The narrative plays it straight. Everybody involved wholeheartedly believes in whatever the stupid literal version of a concept might be. And the wink is there just in the fact that this exists and is being presented to you, and as a reader you should know. So it's sort of a meta wink. The narrative at no point accepts that it is being ridiculous and absurd and over the top, but the fact that you are reading this and continuing to read this, you've probably figured out that this shouldn't be taken too literally. So concepts should be taken literally and made as absurd as possible. The second rule of Tingle's work that I feel like he has is that he keeps his language simple for a reason. One of the reasons that you could say, oh, these are bad books, in inverted commas, is the actual prose of a Tingle book doesn't tend to be particularly mellifluous, high-minded, erudite. It tends to be quite sort of simple language, sort of, I'd say, sort of a grade 6-ish level. Somewhere around there. Short sentences, accessible words, emotions are expressed directly when you're reading Tingle's work. There's not much in the way of subtext. There's not much in the way of excessive description of locale and making sure to include all of... Yes.
Question.
Yes.
Could you please, for the sake of the audience and myself, do you have a Chuck Tingle book somewhere around?
I don't think I've got one I can put my hands on physically, but if I go over to my Kindle library, I should have one there.
Can you possibly elucidate us through the powers of example?
I absolutely can. I would be very glad to do so. If you give me a minute to figure out Where the blinking hell my Kindle books are currently being stored.
I know. I'm sorry to break your rhyme, but
No, you're
think
fine.
it's-
You're fine. That's a very good
That's the
point. And
point.
if that would help, then let's do that immediately. Okay, here we go. Trans Wizard Harriet Porber. I have this one. All right, let's go to the opening. All the way back towards the beginning. Okay, I will read. I'll just read until it feels like an actual stopping point, and this will give you an idea. So this is a Trans Wizard Harriet Porber and the Bad Boy Parasaurolophus. Chapter 1. One-Hit Wonder. Inspiration can be hard to find for a woman like me, but it's not without trying. When I look out of the window of my modest Brooklyn apartment, I see that the world is happening all around me. It is beautiful and strange and special, but for some reason that just won't translate into excitement. I'm a wizard by trade, and you'd think that means I can cast any spell I want, but unfortunately, that's not the case. I need to be excited about something if I'm going to put my wand in the air. It's always been this way, and between you and me, I'd call this my secret weapon. This is how I managed to develop a fully fledged wizarding career without any previous experience in the spells and magic industry. How my first spell, Bubulus Morphus, managed to explode into a viral sensation the likes of which nobody has ever seen. Sure, it was nothing more than a simple collection of magical bubbles containing various scenes from the caster's life, but it was easy to personalise, and the scroll soon went viral. I'm proud of that spell. So yeah, short sentences, very modern English, no over-the-top words.
No elucidation required.
Yeah, the only description of environment, Brooklyn apartment. It's all you need. So it's very, very direct and to the point. And I think in my personal notes, is this where I put it? Yes. It's as if we are 14 and have just discovered Tumblr. No subtle revelations, only Saturday morning statements of moral lessons on love.
If only.
So for me, that was the
Innocent
second rule.
times.
Language should be simple, and that is a texture choice. The third thing that I feel Chuck Tingle has is his titles are the punchline. Titles for Tingle books, they're written like memes. They're supposed to be memorable and silly and have the potential to go viral. We are working with Hungry Like the Wolf, which is already special enough in that vein. But let me find you some other Tingle titles. Here we go. Get me a list. Because some of these are special. All right. Are you going to give me just a nice list of works? That would be very helpful. Not without just showing me the books, and I then have to try to read the titles off. Let me find a different source.
Snake.
You're going to do the same. Okay, this is very annoying. Very, very annoying.
Yes. There's going to be complaints to the Omnisire for this malfunction.
Yes,
are
we
going
have
to
Scary Stories to Tingle Your Butt, which is a compilation. Pounded by this were-groundhog in a seemingly endless time loop on Groundhog Day. That's another one. Pounded in the butt by my own butt. That's also one that Chuck Tingle has. What else do we have?
Oh, never mind. Had a comment and then, yes, TOS.
Pounded in the butt by my handsome sentient library card, whose title goes on for way further than that, but I can't read it at this scale. Bisexual Mothman Mailman.
Okay, I mean, go for
The Space Raptor Butt Trilogy.
that. Okay.
Bigfoot Pirates Haunt My Balls. And more. So the titles are kind of the punchline. It is the point.
Okay, yeah, no, I have seen enough Tumblr posts to know where this is going.
So that is rule 3. The title is the punchline, and we might try to do something with Hungry Like the Wolf, but frankly, it's ridiculous enough as it is, so we don't have to worry about number 3. Okay, point number 4 of Tingle's work. The paradox of wholesome. Despite the titles and the ridiculous premise of Tingle books, the fact that he leans so over hard into the erotic and sexual nature of the romance genre with said titles, the messages in his books are consistently pro-consent, identity and respect, lots of over-affirmations that are very sincere, and it counters cynicism. When you read a Chuck Tingle book, you step into something that has this very plain language and this over-the-top title and is absolutely poking fun at whatever critique of the day Tingle has decided he's going to tackle with this one. But the fundamental underlying messages are generally, you know, they're always wholesome. You always come away with a character through the course of the book having had a very sort of genuine revelation about love and relationships, even if it's stated very plainly in 14-year-old on Tumblr language. But it's there, and you never at any point walk away with some of the horrific things that exist in actual romance books that are trying to properly be part of the genre.
Which point, Hungry Like the Wolf.
Yeah, it's very paradoxical. Hungry Like the Wolf, at multiple points, has this whole thing about Alaric Ward being like, I must claim this woman. I must have this woman. And at one point, Devendra has the thought. And this is a book that's trying to make it, sort of sound, just this rabid lust for each other that they cannot ignore and they cannot overcome, and that makes it consensual. And no, because you haven't built up any actual character dynamic and emotional weight between these two. There are no emotional stakes between Darvendra Elstone and Alaric Ward. There are deliberately put in place miscommunications and career stakes that aren't nearly as deep as they should be. But there's no actual emotional commitment stakes between the two of them. So when those lines come up, they just feel gross. You never get that in a Tingle book. So by the time we're done, Hungry Like the Wolf should come away with a wholesome moral. That's what we're going to try for. We are going to try for a nice wholesome moral at the end of it, and some emotional stakes that people actually care about. I think the only sane way that we're going to get to that is with probably Dr. Elstone making the wise decision that they shouldn't be in a relationship for all of the good reasons they shouldn't be in a relationship, but like in a meaningful and wholesome way that doesn't negate the time that they will have spent together under our pen. That's my plan with that at the minute.
A nice retreat. It's been nice. But
Yes.
we both have duties to attend to, and we recognize that. And we would like these duties to be served, so we can remain friends, but we can, abandon everything and reject all who we are and all we do.
Yes, because there's definitely a through line in Hungry Like the Wolf that he can't settle for her, which makes complete sense. In context, it makes sense. And it's the weirdest thing. Alaric Ward is not written well in this, and he's fucking Alaric Ward. He is what he is. That hasn't changed, and etc. But out of the two characters in this, our two leads, I infinitely prefer Ward to Dr. Elstone. On so many levels. Because there's at least times where he's written more honestly. He can't afford to commit to her, which makes complete sense, and he doesn't really deviate from that the whole way through. He does have this whole through line of, hookup culture is fine, and he admits that he finds her physically attractive, but the whole way through, he has this whole thing of, we are from different worlds and this doesn't work. And it's what makes the epilogue in the actual book feel so unsatisfying. It's not only have we established no emotional weight, but we don't even get an answer to the basic question that a romance book poses, which is, will they or won't they? You don't get any answer to that. They are still on neither side of the coin by the end of the book through Alaric's decisions and choices and his final sort of perspective in the closing paragraph of the epilogue. It's very unsatisfying, but at least he's consistent and there is foundational reason why he is the way that he is. And there's also some wonderful moments in the book where he basically just tells Devendra to shut up and it's entirely justified. So I actually prefer him in this book. Meanwhile, Dr. Elstone, the whole way through, basically has the attitude of, he's a very bad boy, but I can fix him. And I cannot begin to put into words that will remain within Twitch's community content guidelines how much I despise the concept of a woman who approaches a relationship with, I can fix him. The other way around is bad as well, but the woman trying to fix the man is much more common in romance literature, and I have opinions.
And having
Yes.
opinions about
Yes.
tropes
Strong.
in literature.
Strong opinions.
I am sorry. I put sex to doubt.
So,
Yes.
in our version of this book, Devendra Elstone will not, in fact, be trying to fix Alaric Ward. Or if she is, she will very soon learn an important lesson about why that doesn't work and is a very toxic mindset to have, just for yourself, let alone for the other person. She is also incredibly inconsistent and fickle. Yeah, and the book keeps trying to tell you the whole way through that Dr. Elstone is brilliant, that she's really intelligent, and it's really impressive that she's somebody who prefers to work in the field and get her hands dirty because she's not like other girls, yet she's seamlessly able to take over being CEO of this massive global relief organization. And she's just so smart, you guys. You wouldn't believe how smart she is. Followed by a whole load of really stupid moments and decisions and things that don't make sense. You cannot be this super intelligent person and also, you know, not learn from the mistake that got you into the job role that you're currently in. So one of the things in the book, the reason our main character is the CEO of Crescent and Cross, the Relief Society, is because during the War for Terror, Crescent and Cross thought it would be a great idea to have their entire executive suite meeting in a building in Zurich, which got blown up and they all died because they decided having their entire command structure in a major city was a really good idea when a war was on. So they all die. She ends up taking over. And it's supposed to be so that there can be this whole, you know, sort of, oh, you know, does her boardroom believe in her? Are they behind her, or is that a problem? Which is never explored fully. It's touched on just lightly enough for there to be one problem that will allow for the plot point in the book to happen. And it has no weight or depth to it. But that's how she's ended up in charge. And knowing that she has ended up in charge when she'd rather be in the field, and that it happened because they kept having all of the leadership in one place while there was a war on, Devendra Elstone, our, 3,000 IQ heroine, decides that it is a great idea to have the current leadership for every region, keep meeting her in the current day under the threat of insurgents and rebel attacks in one building, in a major city, which happens to be the city that Alaric Ward is ruling out of.
You wish people in our world would have been smarter. And I will stop talking.
I mean, I admit, people in our world make these mistakes. Militaries and intelligences rely on people making those mistakes. My problem isn't necessarily that the mistake happened. I think it's a stupid mistake, and I think it's stupid when it happens in the real world as well, especially considering, modern day ability to communicate with people and etc. Anyway, what bothers me is that we're told that Dr. Else is such a big deal that the entire leadership got blown up in Zurich, and she ended up having to become the leader, even though she really doesn't want to. This is something that comes up again and again and again, is that she doesn't want to be the CEO, but she's doing the best with this job that's laid on top of her, that she never wanted, that happened because of this stupid reason, while she is making the exact same mistake. She has the representative from Australia physically there for meetings.
Why?
I don't know. I do not know, and this bothers me so much because this is just such a fundamental plot hole that it's not even a plot hole because it doesn't affect the plot, but it's a world building hole that is the size of a blue whale.
It's nearly the size of a standard stealth atlas.
Yes, we'll get to the Stealth Atlas in a minute. We'll have some conversations about that, because I think we need to talk about that today, because I would love to hear some more bad ideas from chat. But
Yes. Yeah.
one of the big sins of this book is you are constantly told that Devendra is brilliant. There's moments where her staff are like, oh, I'm sure she's got a plan. She can handle this really well. I've seen her do it before. While she's doing stupid things. And all I'm going to say is, if you, as an author, are writing a book, it is often best to not try to write characters that have a higher IQ than you do. Which sounds like a very mean thing to say. Unfortunately, it is also a true thing to say. And if you are going to write a character who has a higher IQ than you do, or is specialised in an industry that you have never dipped your toe in, it is really beneficial to have an alpha reader or a beta reader or an editor who does have some experience with those things and can pull up the issues that you may not have noticed. This is a very important thing if you want your audience to continue to buy into whatever thing you have put in front of them.
There will always be someone calculating the distance you can jump from one building to the other in a city you've never been to.
Yes, from the top of a certain arch, yes.
Yes, there will be that.
When when it's little things like that, you know, you're working with like a fantastical system and there's magic powers and it comes down to literally the fine point math. That's not such a huge issue. That's going to happen. I'm working on a personal project of my own that I'm writing that's purely for me and some close friends. And I'm writing a character who is a data analyst and does spreadsheets and all of that sort of database software. I know nothing about database software. I know nothing about hacking and intrusions and backdoors you can put into things. I know nothing about what the job role of individual people within the data analyst structure of jobs is. It's not my field of expertise. I've never had to do it. And frankly, I couldn't do it. I do not have the focus for numbers and tables and etc. that would allow me to be successful in that. I just don't work that way. But I did at least run my basic concepts past a friend who is in programming and databases and knows all of the things that I don't know. And I know my book, you know, this novel that I'm writing, just for this select few, it will have problems in it. It will have inconsistencies. It will have things that do not make sense for that job role. And her doing stuff that, you know, normally you wouldn't necessarily expect somebody in that job role in real life to actually be able to do. And it won't matter because it is not the focus of what's going on, and it will be minimal enough and that it just will be easy to gloss over. It is really hard to gloss over. This character's a genius. I'm telling you, they're a genius. While they're acting like a dumbass, and the reader can see they are acting like a dumbass. You can call an apple an orange as many times as you like, but when the audience is physically biting into the apple, they know it's not an orange. You can't lie to them.
I sense a disturbance in the force. Someone is having opinions.
You don't say. It's almost like this is one of those things I'm a little bit passionate about. So yeah, I despise when characters you're told and you're supposed to believe that they're brilliant and they just really aren't. Yeah, here's the thing: the genius can only be as smart as you. I agree. Hey, there's a Corbin. Hello, Corbin. How are you?
I mean, I'm not entirely soft and fuzzy. You can, with preparation and work, you can make people sound smarter than you are.
But that's where your genius has come in. The willingness to do research. But yes,
that is really painting the bullseye where you shot the arrow.
Yeah, I mean, it is a degree of that, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you are just writing, generally characters are going to default at the highest end towards wherever your intelligence happens to be. Yes, there are ways around it. Yes, you can absolutely do stuff to get around that, and having people proofread your stuff for you who can pick up on things that you might not know, very, very good. But we're talking about Hungry Like the Wolf. The disparity between Devendra is brilliant, I'm telling you she's brilliant, and her actions is huge. It is a huge disparity. She does so many things that don't make sense and do not support the premise that she is a clever lady. She just isn't. She is not smart in any way whatsoever. Quite the opposite. She proves herself often to be the opposite. All right.
Yeah.
What else were we talking
the-
about before I just completely went off?
You had rules you wanted us to.
Yes, we were talking about, okay, the paradox of wholesome. The books are wholesome. Okay, rule number 5 that we want to stick to. Rule number 5 that I think I've established from Tingle's works are a degree of tonal dissonance. When we take into account all the rules that we've talked about before, dissonance is kind of a through theme in Tingle's works. You get a ridiculous premise, but straightforward prose. You get literal depictions, but it will be of literal depictions of conceptual things. And of course, sincere moral affirmations in books which are effectively satire at their core, even if they never wink at you directly. They are a send-up of the genre, its tropes, and other cultural issues that Tingle chooses to explore through his books. So we are allowed to have complete tonal dissonance, which will work really well for Hungry Like the Wolf because it's full of tonal dissonance in the first place. The concept that somebody can mentally hate everything a person stands for, but fall in love with them as a person and what they stand for. Not lust, but fall in love with them as a person and what they stand for at the same time is complete. It's a complete juxtaposition. You can't hate everything somebody stands for, but love them for it. Yes, love and hate are two sides of the same coin, but you can't have both sides facing up at the same time. And yet Devendra manages to do this frequently through the book, and it's why nothing has any staying weight. It's because it's just not believable. People don't work this way. Yes, I do in fact have an angry Poppins. Has Red given a beagle a pet recently? She seems to. I have Ceres on my hip, and she has been looking up at me like, Mother, why are you raging? Why are you ranting at the bleepy box?
Why are you not providing me with more attention? Clearly, you are doing this wrong, Mother.
This whole thing is some authors don't think. Yeah.
Thinking is very much for other people.
Okay, chat, I have pet the Ceres because you have demanded it. In thanks, she just farted on me. Thank you, chat.
I think you can. I mean, you can blame chat. That's what they're there for. So, mission failed successfully.
Yes. All right, so rule number 5 will be tonal dissonance. We can have tonal dissonance. That's completely fine. Rule number 6 is the book should have quick rhythm, quick pacing, fast scenes, no extravagant gothic lingering on scenery unless it makes things more absurd. Dialogue will be declaratory, motivations are clear and obvious and stated out loud, which again, this will be good for Hungry Like the Wolf because it does those things anyway. It's only 160 pages long. There's a good couple of chapters in here that are literally 3 pages in length for the entire chapter. It also does not have particularly erudite language either. The language in the original book is very pedestrian and straight and to the point. So, this will work very well. Quick rhythm, we're going to maintain that aspect because that matches with Tingle. And then rule number 7, it is meta in here. Tingle uses the romance genre as a vehicle for commentary, whether on cultural anxieties or genre tropes. Hungry Like the Wolf is a horrendous example of bad romance tropes, so that's where the meta layer will come from. Commentary on toxic masculinity, regurgitating romance tropes just to try and be amusing just by existing. Hungry Like the Wolf already does that, and we're just going to shine a stonking great light on that. Our biggest light with Hungry Like the Wolf is this is a half-ass shitpost. We have written a whole ass shitpost. That is our project goal. That is where I am at. So those are the rules that I think I'm going to need to adhere to in rewriting this. Okay, let's see what Fuzz has to say. One of the important things I learned while DMing for many years, let your PCs write the stories they are in. I have had so many good ideas fed to me by players who are trying to predict my story. This applies only to TTRPG, though. It can absolutely apply to other narrative as well. One of the things I do with writing my genuine books is I will take the time to sit down when I'm stuck on something with a character, and it could be good stuck or it could be bad stuck. I might be bad stuck in well, I'm not really sure, who they are, or, some problem I've encountered with them. Or it could be I'm good stuck, where I'm like, oh my god, I really want to write this character. I really want to have them go on adventures and do things. I think they're going to be really compelling. I will sit down and just write out things that they could do in their life. It won't necessarily be stuff that comes up in any of the particular stories that I put in, but writing the character to understand the character. So I'm effectively allowing them to tell me their story, to be the main character in the stories that they are in. I will just write a character. This is literally something I've done this week with regards to TTRPG, but I would do this for novels as well. I've done it with my lead in my main trilogy that I'm writing. I've written her going off on adventures that have nothing to do with the stories that I'm telling, just to let me get into her head and understand how she reacts to things. I have done that this week as well with Sidewinder from Lictor's Rogue Trader game, because he has introduced an element that could give my character some greater stakes than she's had before in multiple different ways, and personal stakes. So I have sat down and I have written out, a series of potential probable scenarios that could happen and how I think she would respond to that. And the reason I've done that is because when I sit down at the table, I want to both give Lictor more levers to pull on if he chooses to, and also be able to deliver my character in a more meaningful way, so that if something comes up, I don't just react on instinct as myself, but I've already sort of maybe thought the problem through if it matches one of my potentials, and I already know the sort of thing I think my character should say that will drive things forward nicely. So it's absolutely a literary technique that is really, really good. And I will tell you, with Hungry Like the Wolf, I don't have to worry about Alaric Ward because we've got plenty of context for him outside of this book. But Devendra Elstone, who only exists in this book, I have no concept of who she is as a person other than what happens in this book. I don't know what her favourite colour is. I don't know what she likes to do for fun. I don't know what her childhood was like. I can't even tell you whether I consider that she would be a glass half empty or a glass half full kind of person, because she doesn't have a personality outside of the specific events that happen in this book. The author has spent no time with her, in my opinion. They have just written her for the purpose of this book, and that comes through.
Have to rectify it.
Yes, and that is what we are going to do with trying to rewrite Hungry Like the Wolf, but we get to be hilarious with it and have jokes and stupid things that should happen. And I am very keen for chat to give me some ideas for things that should go in here. I have currently flashed up a couple of notes I've taken so far. There have been others, and I think we've got half an hour left, so we can talk about what happens in some of the chapters, and you guys can give me some ideas of things you might like to see in them. There was some discussions of neuro helmets for both heads.
Pyro has done a mistake.
Oh yes, Pyro has made a very, very bad decision. Welcome in. We are glad to have you join us. Hello.
Welcome to the hat.
Yes, welcome to the madness. And please allow your insanity to interact with our own. We are currently on the writing stream where I am wittering about a bad book that we're rewriting. I do feel I should take a moment aside, actually. There is one important thing I haven't done today with regards to this book. I have a lot of criticism for this book. I have a lot of negative things to say about its existence, about how the reason for its existence has been handled, and about the author who wrote it. These are my personal opinions based on reading this book, and I don't in any way mean to take away from the existence of the author. I'm sure she is a lovely lady. I don't know anything about her. She could be the most amazing person on the planet. And she did put in the time and effort to bring this thing into existence. And clearly it was worth something for us to still be talking about it and be willing to put in the effort we're going to over the next few months. I do not mean to denigrate this person or anything like that. I just have very strong opinions about how she approaches a craft that I am passionate about. So I'm not trying to be a mean girl on the internet about this lady, and I do feel that feels like that should be said. there are some good things about this book. They're few and far between. They're not nearly as interesting to talk about as the things I think are bad about this book. But please, do not take away from this that I have any ill will towards the people and effort that was put into a product that exists in the world. I just have opinions. Alrighty. Right, let's talk about some of the chapters, and if you guys have any ideas for things you would like to see in the rewrite. What's going to happen is, after this stream, you're not going to hear anything more about this, with any luck, until the beginning of April, when I can read to you what I wrote. I'm just going to work on this in the background by myself, and we will see what comes from it, because I think it will be more fun that way. But I do want you guys involved at this point. No, that's the sensible rewrite. We don't want that. That's far too sensible. All right, so the other thing I did this week is I went through the ebook and I broke it down into its core premise and into its chapters. So the core premise of this book is that he is the Ilkhan of all the clans and has conquered Terra and claimed the title of First Lord. He is Alaric Ward, Warlord and Battle Mech Pilot Supreme. She is the head of a relief organisation in the wake of the War for Terra. Born on Terra, happier serving people than heading a boardroom, her name is Dr. Davendra Elstone. He sees himself as the saviour of Terra, but hungry eyes want what he has conquered, and he trusts no one. She sees him as a tyrant warlord and wants peace for her war-torn world, and for Ward to pay the repair bill for what his battles have caused. They should be staunchly opposed, but they find their way together as an unlikely pair in an enemies to friends to lovers kind of deal, uniting over fixing Terra and repelling a mercenary warband of mechs in the closing chapters. He's a warlord, she's a medic, unlikely romance on war-torn Terra. That's the premise. In itself, not horrific. In itself, also not good, but it's what we're dealing with. That is our premise. All right. Chapter 1 is one I would love you guys to have some input on. In Chapter 1, we drop straight in to Davendra Elstone's point of view, and she is arriving to a function hosted by Alaric Ward and the clans, effectively. They're at a convention centre for just a sort of general meet and greet now that the war is over and he's declared himself First Lord. She turns up on the arm of a non-specific Colonel William James. We never find out what military group he represents. We never find out how the hell Crescent and Cross is able to just, dial a colonel for when they need to go to an event. She is also very tall. She is not like other girls, hates high heels, and prefers to be in the field doing medicine. She hates everybody. She hates clanners, she hates Terran nobility, she hates any figure of authority who doesn't do hands-on work. Ward is also here. He is very paranoid as he just took power, but he does nothing to keep himself safe. He also hates everyone, and he thinks that everyone has an angle. At least in his case, that makes sense. Both of our idiots are surprised by the concept of a glass door, and they both end up on the balcony at the same time, alone. Which makes no sense because, you'd think that, the risk of assassination would be something Ward actually cares about, and Sarkhan Chance Vickers should also care about, but apparently nobody does. She has a trip and fall accident due to wearing high heels. He catches her. He smells nice. She is slender, but all muscle. She hates him for doing one whole war on her world, and she expects him to personally fix it. He thinks she is another demanding noble. Nevertheless, there is instant tension for some reason. She tries to talk down to him, he doesn't give a shit. They both go back inside, and she sex pests all over the Colonel to play off that she totally didn't deliberately seek out Ward to yell at him. Both Ward and Elstone are kind of shit to their underlings, expecting them to cover for their own bad personality traits, and the book makes both of the underlings seem passive. That is Chapter 1. It is basically a glorified slip and fall incident. Is there anything hilarious you guys would like to add to this? I feel like we should add some ridiculous assassination attempt.
Yes. I think there should be a competent assassination attempt of someone else.
So when I was reading this to my book club, one of the things that we kind of decided was that this would be a better book if the Colonel was like the protagonist and that he went on a never-ending crusade to get Davendra sued for sexual harassment in the workplace. Which, that's an entirely different book that we could write. And then after that, we decided that the only real character anybody liked in this book is Sarkhan Chance Vickers. and that maybe that the reason that she's being so incompetent at her job is that she is desperately hoping that Alaric Ward will get himself killed because she can't be bothered to have to manually strangle him like she did Devlin Stone. So I think we could maybe play up that angle that Vickers is just trying to get him killed.
I mean, yeah.
Delta T, we could do a competent assassination attempt that just kills off Darvendra and then move to a different character, but that would then probably mean changing the entirety of the book, and I think it's going to be more fun to try and write something that's more compelling within the sort of rules that are already established, the plot that's already established. Just see what we can do with what we're given, and see how creative we can get with that.
Let's do the Van Zandt thing. We got an urban mech and 3 plowshares. How can we make what war crimes can we make Zorb do with that? Just that, nothing else.
Okay, we've got some good stuff going on in chat. Orcslayer says, we see an Atlas fall over and kill the assassin as they fall into each other's arms. That's funny, but I like Ed's idea first. The assassin attempted to assassinate Ward via slippery floors, but badly. I like that because remember, we are doing this in the style of Chuck Tingle, and accenting things to the level of maximum absurdity is exactly what we should do. The assassin, Vickers knows... Vickers is actually trying to get Ward killed without having to get hands-on, and the assassin is out there in a janitor's outfit and has just slicked the floors down, but it just doesn't work, because that would be hilarious, and that is pushing this whole trip and fall incident to its absurd extreme. The floor is deliberately slippery.
That's good.
Something shouldn't be given a second chance, like discount down in your wallet. Correct! Okay, I like these notes. That is what we're going to lean into. So let me put some notes here. Notes. Not moats, notes. Okay, Vickers is trying to get Ward offed without having to do it herself. There is an assassination attempt via janitor waxing. I can spell, I swear. Waxing the floors. Okay, we will add that in to accentuate how ridiculous Chapter 1 is. Alright, Chapter 2 isn't particularly exciting. Nothing really happens in it. They just meet again and he realises she's the head of Crescent and Cross. We're not going to worry about that one right now. Let's see. Yeah, Chapter 3 is just them bitching backwards and forwards at each other, and Alaric being kind of annoyed that now that he's conquered Terra, he has to be in charge of logistics problems and etc., and he doesn't enjoy it any more than she does. We're going to leave that chapter alone. It's basically another nothing chapter. Let's see. Alright, Chapter 4. Chapter 4, we have returned to Crescent and Cross headquarters, the Relief Society. It is summer and hot, and the senior staff are arguing about whether there is a need to negotiate with the new rulers of the planet that have battle mechs, bearing in mind that Crescent and Cross does not have battle mechs, and as the story unfolds, it kind of seems like Devendra doesn't really understand that agri-mechs and industry mechs exist. Or if she does, what their actual purpose is, because there is going to be this whole through thing of her wanting the clan mechs beaten into plowshares, effectively, and it's very ridiculous. But notable moments in this chapter. Darvendra stops an argument in the boardroom with a judge's gavel, for some reason. There is... No, she literally bangs a judge's gavel to make everybody shut up in a Relief Society board meeting. That's just a thing that happens. There is more bitching about the situation and how terrible it is that a war happened and everything is messed up. We get to meet more of the C&C staff, and this is the first time that you find out that the head of the Far East delegation is currently in Unity City. The head of the Australian delegation is currently in Unity City. The head of the European delegation is currently in Unity City. And I don't know why. We at least get a name for the Aussie delegate. His name is Fred Collier, and he will be spending an awful lot of time being unfortunately agreeable with Darvendra. There is bitching about Ward being the so-called new First Lord and him thinking himself the saviour of terror. Devendra makes notes that she thinks that in his own head he actually believes that. Ward's part of this chapter is inspecting the battle mechs under repair after the last assault. Instead of going to his next meeting in the office after checking his mech is being fixed, he takes it for a spin and tells Vickers to have his next appointment meet him here in the hangar, which leads into chapter 5, where of course his next meeting is Devendra, and they're in the hangar, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's focus on Crescent and Cross and this concept of there being the entire delegation from around the planet all in one building. Is there anything ridiculous you guys would like to push here with Dr. Bimbo and the Idiot Brigade? Do you have any insights you would like to see, chat?
I want one of them to be complaining about how stupid it is that they are there and be munching on something because the airplane food was terrible.
Okay, I think that's a great thing to add in. One delegate is complaining about even being here, and the airplane food was awful.
We have TV conferences. This entire meeting could have been an email.
Yeah. Could you really not just put this in an email? Okay, let's see what else chat is saying. Chance Vickers is the one trying to off-board. Yeah, we had a look at that. Does the janitor assassin have a wet floor sign? Because the Sarkhan knows Alaric can't read. I will take that note. I also love the idea of janitor assassin said in the tone of voice of Kroban about janitor captains. We'll need a Kroban cameo.
We need a Kroban.
Okay, let me put this up here. Where were my notes for chapter 1? Janitor assassin
Janitor captain
cameo by Kroban.
Janitor assassin.
If we do something stupid with this one, it's all said and done. I might go and have a chat with Tex and get him to do something really stupid. Okay, pull a naked gun and have the janitor knocked off the balcony by Ward as he's run into by the woman whose name he's already forgotten. Yes! Yes, yes, maximum absurdity. Okay, add this to the notes up here. See, this is how we turn things we don't enjoy into fun, chat. Okay, we need to start a subplot of Chance Vickers and Colonel What's-His-Name trying to keep their respective organisations running despite their leaders' incompetence. I am okay with that as a concept running through this. It will need to be background, but yeah, this could just be a thing that just pops up occasionally. When things are at their most stupid. Clanners think wet floor is a command, not a warning. No! Every chapter sees an assassination attempt foiled. Okay. Every time Ward is on screen for a section. Okay.
I have to put forward that unlike the original, let's not squeeze every joke until it's dead.
Yeah.
It needs to remain fun.
Okay. Okay. No, you make a good point. Okay. There are frequent enough to still be funny.
Yes.
Assassination attempts on Ward going on in the background. Okay. But, I mean, even if we just dragged 2 jokes to death through the whole book, we've already doubled the amount of jokes. So, you know, there would be that. But yes, we will try and keep it funny and not too over the top. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Because it's called Unity City, there must be much hand clasping and frolicking among the flowers. I think we can leave that part alone, though we will have a chance for there to be frolicking later in a very particular chapter. I think that will come back.
Who demands a bomb to be rigged on Deception Pass? Somebody has to roll a die on Deception Pass and roll a natural 1. I'm sorry. I mean, roll for Deception 1.
Yeah, this could have been an email. Didn't this get the last lot of idiots killed? Yes. Okay, let's lift that specific line. Scroll down to chapter 4 where we were putting these notes. In chapter 5, I think you guys are going to have some thoughts for things that might need to go there. Ozzy was there because he didn't pay his phone bill. The others dialed in. We might do that in one of the later meetings. Let's full manage the amount of time spent in meetings versus how much you get done is atrocious. Yes, it is a chronic failure of just business in general in the modern day. I have friends who work for big corporations. One of them is even, relatively well placed in a bank, or at least, a banking administrative system. And the corpo speak that comes out of them, because business has degraded to the point where not only do you have to have meetings about meetings about meetings, and managers now just don't get anything done, but you have to use a specific subset of language that so obfuscates the actual point that needs to be addressed that it is just painful. It terrifies me, the abuse of the English language that happens in business these days. I do not understand how we have gotten this bad and why nothing is being done to rectify this. I feel so blessed to work for myself and for the people who commission me, who speak not only in plain English and reasonable terms and have actual meaningful human conversations with me, but also manage to say, actually enjoyable things like, I wish this hadn't been, a couple of days late, but I can see the extra work you put in on it and I really appreciate it. Or, you knocked this out of the park, I can't wait to work with you again. Genuine human things, whether they are negative or positive, spoken plainly and briefly without needing a half-hour meeting about the meeting we had last week, about whether we are on track for productivity values or whatever. My brain. Anyway, we're off on another tangent.
Hello,
Let's
brain.
get back to what chat has to say.
Hello, brain.
You could have a Vickers and James sub-romance plot. Yes, I think we absolutely. If they are both trying to keep their organisations running over the machinations of their idiot bosses, I feel like they would be thrown together in a way that's much more meaningful. Vickers and James talk for all of 5 minutes, then lock themselves in a supply closet. The best part will be is if we went down that trope and we just had the two of them like, yes, we are both here again. Yes, both of our bosses are being an idiot. Would you like to adjourn to the supply closet? And the implication is, of course, is that they're going to go and get a bit handsy in there. But then we pan at the end of the chapter to a scene and they're just sat in there playing poker and drinking tea because they're both just fed up. That's it. They're just having a drink and bitching about their bosses. Everyone but the Aussie and the bimbo should run out of the room while even throwing themselves out of a window. Might be a bit much. You've got to find a way to pay your bills. Got to find a way to work pay your bills, fucko, into the text. I'm sure we will find a way to do that. I will take that production note on board. Let's put it up at the top as a general note because I don't know where that will happen. All right, let's see. Anything else from chat? Would you like to adjourn to my office? Walks into supply closet. And a subversion. Yeah. Yeah, poker in the closet sounds great. Okay, cool. A romance subplot for Vickers and James. Only most of the time they are just drinking coffee and bitching about their bosses in a supply closet or something. Cool. We will throw that in. That will be very, very fun. All right, let me read to you. This is probably the last one we'll have time for because I want to make sure I get out of here on time because BB's got something exciting for you guys today, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let's talk about Chapter 5 before I take this away and leave you guys in peace. All right. Chapter 5 picks up with Devendra being really annoyed that she has had to come out to the hangar base instead of just the offices of the First Lord, which would have been easier for her and is much closer. Of course, the next appointment is Devendra. When Ward gets back with his mech, he makes the idiotic decision to show this hostile Terran who hates him and what he's done to her planet around Clan Wolf's mech bays. where the mechs are being repaired. He lets her just look at whatever she wants to. And then, when she starts banging on about beating mechs into plowshares, he's like, you don't understand how battle mechs work. Let me show you. Get in my mech. He literally takes this hostile Terran woman into his Savage Wolf to show her how it works. And he thinks this is a good idea. The real reason this is happening is so that a romance can happen, because of course if she has to get in the mechs run hot, she'll need to put on a cooling vest, which means she needs to get undressed. They can both be in a cramped, warm space together in minimal clothing and recognise how sweaty the other person is. That is why this exists, and there is also an unbelievable amount of focus on the butt sculpting of his command couch, which they both managed to squeeze onto somehow. Devendra learns about mechs running hot. Ward smells nice when he is sweaty. She is physically attracted to him. He is also attracted to her, and confused as a baby bird, when a moment happens that she seems to be physically attracted to him, but then shakes it off. It is at this point I made the mental note to myself that Ward was raised by a spheroid and knows far more than just clan culture. There is no reason for him not to have at least some understanding of how Terran populaces should work. Devendra wants Ward to feed the people so they don't rebel, because she doesn't want any more wars. They just need to plan for the harvest because all of the farmers are dead. Apparently the crops are still there and will rot in the fields, but, you know, the crops weren't blown up with the farmers somehow. She literally wants him to beat battle mechs into plowshares or, well, agri-mechs or something. She's not very clear on this point. She also has the thought to herself that she is pleased that Ward isn't dating Chance Vickers, which is a thought she has out of fucking nowhere, but here we are. He wants to hear more of her batshit ideas and agrees to have more meetings with her. This chapter was stupid. But what would you like to do with the idiocy of the First Lord of Terror, who has just conquered the planet, deciding to take a known angry asset not only into the hangars of his clan and their inner workings to see exactly what state of battle readiness he is currently in, but inside his personal mech? Is there anything you would like to do with that, chat? Let's see. Okay, where were we? I love that subversion. Poker in the closet, poker in the closet. Shut up, woman, get on my horse. I mean, yes. What if she was packing a concealed grenade? I know! When I was reading this, I was like, you want me to believe, book, that Ward is supposed to be a tactical genius. That you want me to believe that he is an amazing warlord who has achieved this incredible feat of, you know, conquering terror and getting most of the clans on board with what he's doing. You try to play him up as being a tactical genius and a mech pilot bar none. And yet, he takes a hostile Terran onto Clan Wolf Base and shows her his mech. I'm just dying all over again. This is like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time I've talked about this, and it hurts just as much.
I'm speechless.
I know.
Okay.
Ed Gauss is asking, is Ward's command couch like a full-size couch? Like something you could sleep on? No! It is sculpted specifically to his buttocks for one person to sit in it and, you know, resist the motion issues of being in a mech under attack. It is supposed to absorb shock and damage for one. But I still, to this point, have no idea how they managed to fit 2 fully grown adult humans into this chair and he can still reach around her and control it. I don't know. Alaric is wearing heart pattern underpants. This makes me think of an art piece I have done. I don't know if Corbin's still here, but if he is, I will absolutely wind him up about it. Okay, chapter 5. Notes.
There might be.
Ward is wearing Heart-covered underpants.
Though might be because it's a clan mech and it's super advanced and high tech. It might have but because clanners adhere to ancient Terran codes of construction, maybe this mech has a special Valentine's mode for exactly this sort of situations, right? So, it's the ancient Terran protocol when hosting a partner, the shape of the chair shifts and changes to accommodate both of them in a very specific pattern, which the Ilkhan, of course, recognizes, and this strikes a memory and allows him to understand what he's supposed to do now because he's following the ancient protocol of Valentine.
Can't pick budgie smugglers. I think I don't know if I'll go into that much detail of what kind of underpants, but yeah. I am very pleased to see that you are as blown away by the stupidity of this chapter as I was, chat, and that you really can't find a way to make it that much more absurd. Because it's so hard. This is already just the most absurd decision you could possibly make. Somebody mentioned that this is just lazy writing, and yes, this book is full of lazy writing. People end up in situations so that a romance can happen, not because the situation makes any sense. It happens multiple times through this book, and it never gets any better, no matter how far through it you go and how often it happens. It's just...
We have...
The trial of Valentine's.
That's the trial. If you can only sit in this chair with me if you can pass the trial of Valentine's. It's not about Charles, but
no, this will be wonderful. This is the trial of Valentine's. He thinks she has accepted participation in this trial because she is also wearing heart undies.
There you go.
We did it, chat. We managed to make it even more dumb.
We have successfully stupidified
Okay, we might over the next weeks have a look at chapters I haven't got to yet for you guys to do this with me. It's sort of like the cool down at the end of stream, because I really want you guys to weigh in on some of the other chapters that happen. Stuff to do with Kin Liu, the Far East delegate, who is like the sort of pinch point that the plot revelations rely on. The moment where she takes Ward on a field trip to go and see the farmers, and he's introduced to the concept of twins and basically has to ask her how is Babby formed. I think you guys will have some input on that. The attack by Clan's Health Horses with the Stealth Atlas 2. I definitely want you guys to have some input on that. So maybe we will just have like short little romance segments at the end of stream over the coming weeks until this is finished, so that you guys can give me your dumb input, because your dumb input makes mine infinitely better.
The power of our dumb combined. We are Chuck Tingle.
We did it, chat. We made it even more dumb. Thank you for quoting me, Night Owl. This is no longer standard dumb. This is plaid grade dumb. Yes, we have in fact gone to plaid. I want Stealth Atlas 2 to be like the shouty orc stealth. Well, somebody already had the idea that the Atlas 2 should just be there. And as they walk past, like, Devendra notices that it's an Atlas 2 just holding 2 trees in front of its face. But nobody else seems to notice it. That would certainly be an option. Oh, dear. Everyone's scared to call it in. Yeah, we will definitely do something interesting with the Stealth Atlas 2 when we get there. Just the fact that the Stealth Atlas exists in this book at all. Again, it's one of those things, I don't even know how I can make this more dumb. This is the stupidest of decisions you could have made in the given moment. Good job. Alrighty. It is coming up for 25 past the hour. BB will be here at half past the hour, so it is going to be time for us to get out of here. She is coming in with something she's very excited to share with you guys today. I believe Mr. Diggs will be joining her for a game by the same people who did Little Nightmares 1 and 2, and she seems pretty hype. So I'm going to call the stream here. We're going to get out of the way, let her come in and entertain you. We will be here over the weekend as well. I'm planning on joining Ninja Turtle on Sunday for Metroid Prime, and then there'll be WBPLW Sunday night. So please be good to each other. We desperately want to see you. Any closing words from you, Lichter?
No, it's going to be fine. Yes. Hello, I'm sorry. My brain is reeling from the amount of gum.
Alrighty. Well, we will see you next week, chat. Be good to each other, have fun, and,
In good chat.
don't do
Okay,
anything
bye.
Ward wouldn't do, I guess.